Every hobby is one decision away from becoming a profession. This show is about asking the question, should you go for it? Welcome, everybody, to the Cheeseburger Lens. My name is Jorge Arteta, where we talk about career changes. We talk about taking a hobby or a passion that you love and turning it into a profession. Today with me, I have our guest, Roger Collier, who's got some great stories regarding changing careers and just taking hobbies and then making them into a career or profession. Roger, welcome to the Cheeseburger Lens.
Thank you very much, George. Pleasure to be here and be a part of this.
Great to have you here. So I always want to start out the show with one quirky thing. And there's one quirky thing that we found out about you that most people wouldn't know about. Can you share that with us?
I was a Lego Master certified before the TV show came out. And every time people find out that I used to work for Lego and go around the country and train people how to build Lego and use Lego robotics, they always can't believe it.
Right. So I guess that's a pretty cool thing because I don't know anything about Lego. So can you explain to somebody who doesn't know about Lego what that means?
Yeah, I mean, normally people think you just take the bricks and put them together. But if you actually look at it, there's some different Lego. It's called Technic, and it's designed to be an engineering tool.
Okay.
And so you can build skyscrapers and cranes and bridges with it. And a lot of engineering departments actually use it in real-life industrial situations so they don't have to cut things apart to do, a prototype. If it doesn't work, they can take it apart and rebuild it. And then that way, at the same time, you also have a full set of directions, knowing what piece goes where. So it's a really cool engineering tool that was originally designed like for college kids and professional people for engineering type purposes. And it's worked its way all the way down to grade school kids now.
Wow.
Who are taking the tools and building robots that will go out and pick up balls and move balls and do different things within time limits.
Wow.
Along with learning how to program that robot.
And then how long does it take to become certified? Like, is it a course?
Well, it took, I had been doing it for quite a while, and it kind of proved myself to Lego that I was worthy. And they called me and asked me if I'd like to work for them,
Okay.
Which is kind of every kid's dream, is to, go work for Lego. And so seeing what I had already done and what I already knew, I went through a training, and it was a week-long training, 8 hours a day. And basically it was kind of some fact-checking of, do I know what I'm actually talking about? And they showed me some different tips and tricks and different ways to use the product that I hadn't used yet. And then they certified me to go out and go across the country and teach teachers in school districts how to implement Lego education, Lego engineering, and Lego robotics into the curriculums in schools.
Wow. So we'll get into more of that a little later here, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there you go, folks. Roger is a certified Lego master.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I guess there's a TV show, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you and I go back a few years. We found each other through golf.
Yes.
As most people know, I'm a golf coach. And I was coaching the first tee, and your son got involved, and so that's how we met. And Oliver's a great kid, and I got a shout out to Jody too, right?
Yeah.
The little sister. But Oliver's a great kid. Is he 9 now?
He just turned 9.
9. So
yeah.
happy birthday, Oliver! There.
Yeah.
Awesome. 9 years old, and he's getting into the golf scene, so it's been pretty cool.
It's pretty fun to watch him. He was at the PGA show and was catching some people's interests for sure. And they got some chatting from a couple different professionals and a couple different CEOs looking at him going, we need to watch you. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why you're here.
Okay.
One of the fascinating things I found out about you is the change of careers that you've had. It's been pretty awesome when you kind of look down the list of here, including the Lego one, but there's a bunch of others that might surprise people. So a lot of people have fear of changing careers. Like, what about the money, and what about benefits, and what about the safety nets, and what do I do? And so we'll talk through that with you. But can we go back to your days? You are from Oregon.
Yep, born in Oregon before it became a dumpster fire.
Oh, jeez. How was it in general growing up on the West Coast? And we don't meet many people that are on the West Coast.
It was absolutely amazing. I was born in 1969, so through the 70s and early 80s in Oregon, everybody called it God's country. It was beautiful. You have mountains, you have beaches, You have all kinds of outdoor activities from kayaking and boating to windsurfing and skiing and snowboarding. So as a playground, Oregon was just amazing. And at the same time, my playground was right across the street from my uncle's house, which is now physically the world headquarters of Nike.
Wow.
And so where the Nike headquarters is at, there's a big lake. That's that lake they created. It was a stream, and that's where you used to catch crawdads and ride our BMX bikes and stuff.
Wow.
So I got to see Nike grow from the ground up.
Wow.
And, I met people like Phil Knight just around the neighborhood, literally. The art scene was blowing up in Oregon, between music and film, the theater. It was just so creative in Oregon that you could really do anything you wanted, which helped me as a young kid growing up, realizing you didn't have to go to school to be an accountant. You didn't have to go do whatever. It was so creative, and everybody encouraged it. We had the Saturday market downtown Portland that you would go to, and it was crafts and art and food, and it was just 10 by 10 booths down there.
Wow.
And it was packed. It would take you almost all day to go through it all.
Yeah.
And it was all your neighbors. And so it was just a real creative collective at that time in Oregon.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to your first job, your first real job in car audio. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about that?
Well, back at the time, car audio was just starting to come around. It was they called it the mini truck scene, because it was people in little pickup trucks, the Toyotas and the Chevys, and I had an Isuzu. And so we started customizing them. We started lowering them to the ground. We went to our friends' houses that lived on the farms and stole hydraulic pumps off of their tractors and took the beds off our trucks, put hydraulic pumps on. So when you'd take a left-hand turn, the bed would tilt back right and stand up on its end. And,
Wow.
And it was a show car scene that was just on the streets.
Okay.
And stereos started to become a big part of that. And it was just no more 6x9s in the back. People wanted bass and they wanted to rattle windows. And so at that time, I wanted to be in that industry. Okay. There was no internet. So I had to go pick up the Yellow Pages phone book that people over 30 will remember what they are, and just started looking through car audio and just started looking and seeing what I could find. And there was a listing there that said, because the way the Yellow Pages used to work is it was like different topics underneath car audio. So it would be like customizing or retail. And there was one that said manufacturer, and it said Phoenix Gold. Well, I always thought that Phoenix Gold was in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. I didn't know they were in Portland, Oregon.
Wow. Okay.
So I drove my truck down to the entrance of the company, turned up the stereo as loud as I could, started rattling the windows, and one of the guys, rest his soul, Larry Frederick, passed away a couple years ago, came walking outside and looked at my car, and he's like, "Nice, who did this?" And I said, "Me." And he goes, "Really? You did all of this?" And I said, "Yeah, I built a subwoofer cabinet in the back. I've lowered it. I've showed him everything." And he said, "You want to work?" And I said, "I would love to work for you guys."
Wow. And about how old were you?
I was 19.
Okay, gotcha.
I was 19 years old, and by the time I was 20, I came to Florida my first time as a national sales rep for the company. Okay. And showed up here as the manufacturer's representative. They had car shows going on here. We had a booth here, and it kind of also started my whole events and promotion side of it, finding out how much I loved that, how much fun it was to drop into a town, set up the tents, have kind of like a big rock show. Cars show up, people show up, you're having fun for 3 or 4 days, going out to dinner, and all of a sudden you pack them and go back home. And working for a manufacturer is different than working for a retailer, because you come in kind of like the man. It's your booth. People are here to see your products. So it gave you a whole different feel. Like, again, it's like being on stage and being the lead singer. People are coming to see you. Yeah. And just a lot of that excitement of what you're doing and what you're creating was kind of the adrenaline that I fed off and loved. That's because awesome. when you're creative, it's fun to have people like what you do. you know.
Now, unfortunately, something happened that prompted you to do something else. So what happened to the company? This is something probably a lot of people out there experience also. And how did you manage to go to your next move?
Well, what happened was the company grew so big, and the founder of it, Keith Peterson, who was a mentor of mine, who still is to this day, had the opportunity to sell the company for $15 million and took it, which I wouldn't blame him. You know, it's kind of what everybody wants is you're able to cash out and retire. And when that happened, there was going to be different management changes and different people coming in. A few of the top people in the company decided it was time to leave at that time. And so they went different places. I looked at it of like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And at the same time, I was already riding Harley Davidsons. I was into going to custom bike shows. And so I ended up going and working for Harley Davidson.
So Harley Davidson started out as a hobby for you, which I imagine a lot of people start out. They go get that bike and they join the groups and build relationships and all that stuff. And so you took that and did what now with Harley Davidson? This is a dream, another dream job for a lot of people, Harley Davidson.
You know, I took that and I ended up working at the local Harley dealership at the time and started doing events and promotions for them. And started trying to help them grow in a different direction. Different things like I would load up a truck and trailer full of bikes on the weekend, take them down to California where they were more desirable at a higher price and sell them down there for the company and then bring them back, you know, different bikes. So it was, again, on the road, doing different things, meeting different people. And, you know, Harley's, it's kind of like golf. People have to have money to play in the game. And so you're meeting business owners and doctors and lawyers and networking with a whole different group of people that have money for their hobby. And so with that, you know, I did some like all Harley drags and the 95th anniversary ride from Portland, Oregon to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where Willie G. Davidson flew out and we did a big demo day at the Expo Center with all the brand new models and then rode back. You know, it took a few days and like rode to Sturgis and did the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota. And just a lot of really fun, exciting things in Harley.
Now, in your 20s, this is when you were in your mid-20s with Harley, that fear or that stress that you had about changing from Phoenix Gold to Harley, I would imagine is a different kind of stress or fear compared to when you got older and then changing jobs. How did that feel to you in your 20s? What kind of fear was it? What kind of stress was it? Or were you like, hey, I'm going to look for my next opportunity?
Well, it was extremely stressful because right at the time I was a new father. So I had two young boys at that time. And I was extremely scared. I was trying to figure out how to give them the life they deserved and still not be gone all the time and try to be an active parent and not an absentee parent. And luckily at the time, because I was writing and everything, my wife at the time made the suggestion, like, why don't you just go work for Harley? Like, you love them. Like, it's the garage. It's everything. Like, we're always around bikes. Like, you should do that. It makes sense. And because I had my family's support, I'm like, okay, let's go do this.
So here we are now, 2 jobs into your career. You get into the Phoenix Gold because you were screwing around with putting stereos in your car and making it sound better, which we all loved to do back in the day. And now you're taking a hobby of riding bikes and you made it a career. How long did you stay at Harley and what happened next?
I stayed at Harley for a few years and was kind of tapped out in the market. There wasn't a lot of more for me to do. So I started reaching out and networking with some different custom bike builders because the custom scene was starting to go. And through there, some of the different people who I was going to start working with to build some custom bikes owned a company and invited me to come work for the company. And I could still work on bikes if it was a slow day, or sometimes we'd just take a Friday off of work and just go to work and work on bikes
Okay.
and then go out riding for the weekend. So it was still taking my love of riding bikes and putting it in like 50-50 in with a whole new business, which was in the hydroponics industry.
Okay, so explain hydroponics to the rest of us.
Hydroponics, for people who don't know, it's basically like growing in greenhouses, but specifically without soil. So if you think of the hanging gardens in Babylon, and people talk about how they had these big canals that the water ran through it, but yet lush plants were growing out of it, it's the same thing. You have like gutter systems that you're running your water with nutrients and plant food through it. So the roots are hanging in it the whole time, uptaking as much food as they want. And people don't realize a lot of times in the dirt, in the ground, is where you get diseases and bugs and different things for your plants. So you're taking that out, almost putting it in a clean room situation in a greenhouse. And then, like, for instance, on the West Coast where I was at, in January, February, you would go into the stores, there's tomatoes on the vine in the stores. Well, how can that be if there's a foot of snow outside? And it's because you're growing in a greenhouse in temperature-controlled, environment-controlled environment, so you can grow year-round.
So was that company selling to who?
That company was selling to all the growers who were out there growing.
Okay.
So I ended up designing and creating different products for them, like heat and temperature and humidity controls, lighting controls, pumps to turn on, water pumps or turn on fans to control different lights for different times. So in a way, you're kind of playing Mother Nature inside the greenhouse. And for me, from the creative, engineering side, it was fun. I'm like, okay, what do I need to try to figure out how to control now? Like some guy's calling me saying his pump needs to turn on for 4 minutes and then turn off for 10 minutes. So that way it'll feed the plants, then let them go so it doesn't flood them out. And I'm like, okay, let me figure out how to do that. And I would go and design a box that he could just plug in his pumps and it would do that for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool is that? How many years did you stay there? About?
I was there for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay. So you're how old at this time?
At this time,
30s?
It was my late 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next story is pretty cool.
Well, yeah. And
so how did the root of this next story start with your son and the Lego?
So my son is extremely advanced. I mean, I'll just say right now, he's 31 and has a doctorate in AI programming. So he's always intelligent. And for me, I had to figure out how to keep up and how to feed him what he needed, because I knew if kids get bored, they get in trouble. And I wanted him to be as smart as he could be. So he started playing around with Lego and started building different things, and we found a
How
robot.
old is he about this time?
He was 9.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, he was 9. And so I was trying to figure out what to do for him. And I needed something to stimulate his brain and something to stimulate his body. Because at 9 years old, he wanted to drop out of school because he was bored.
Oh, jeez.
And I wasn't ready to homeschool at that time. I was still working and in business and wasn't ready for that. So the two things I found were Lego robotics and the first tee for golf.
Okay.
And, that was 22 years ago. And so the Lego robotics kit that was out at the time was for college kids. It was their master thesis engineering project kit. And Lego had designed it because too many college kids were getting frustrated that if they were going to build a project, they'd have to cut and weld and do different things. And if it didn't work, they had all this scrap. They couldn't just take it apart and rebuild it.
Okay.
Kind of pseudo like erector set style.
Okay.
So Lego came out with this kit called the Mindstorms kit that had a brick that was the brain with all these different sensors you could attach to it. And my son started doing it and really started doing it well, but we kept running into roadblocks. Like he couldn't figure out how to overcome an issue. So I started calling Lego because there was nobody around me who could answer my questions. So I started calling direct to Lego in Denmark, asking questions constantly.
So headquarters those
in,
that don't know.
In Denmark, yeah. So I'm calling them, and they keep saying, like, what are you doing? Why are you asking us these questions? And I'm like, well, my 9-year-old wants to figure out how to do this. And he's got some friends that are doing it, and they want to build robots, and they want to do this. And so I just kept trying to figure out what's going on. How are we doing this? And kept calling Lego. And one time I was on the phone joking around with them because they had started referring people on the West Coast to just call me. And so I was making a name for myself in the robotics education area as just this guy who was into it and was kind of a geek and nerd and could also talk to people in layman's terms. And I wouldn't overwhelm them with engineering speak. And so I was on the phone and I said, look, you guys, you're referring so many people to me. Why don't you just hire me? And within a month, they called me back and said, how would you like a job with us?
Now, you were still at the hydroponics.
Yeah, I was
So
still doing that.
Were you kind of at the point where you're like, maybe I could go find something else? Or the Lego opportunity was so big for you and your family and your son especially that it was something that you're like, I got to go for this?
It was, at that company, there was a transition. The owner was going through some personal issues, and the company was getting kind of shaky.
At the hydroponics
company. So it was a very unstable time. And with my kids, I needed some stability at that time. And it was kind of too big of a dream, my own personal childhood dream, to pass up. And so I just figured, talking with the company, global corporation, there's all the things that people worry about, the 401ks, the medicals, the things, and it was all there. So it was a beautiful package at the time, but I didn't need to work in a cubicle, and I could still work out of my house, still hang out with my kids, still start to get them involved in golf, and just be happy. And I ended up opening up a huge robotics lab to where kids would come in all the time after school and stay there until like 10 o'clock at night. And we'd build robots, and we went in and competed with them and went to the world championships 3 times.
This was through Lego?
Through Lego.
Opening this whole thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And so it was a ton of fun, and took us to the world finals 3 times. And I ended up getting corporate sponsorships from people like Boeing and Microsoft and BAE Systems and Autodesk. I ended up being in an Autodesk like coffee table engineering book. A whole chapter about robotics in there. So it was a great time for me because I was learning everything with my kids.
Yeah.
And when I would go to a seminar, I'd bring them with me.
Yeah.
And at first people were like, well, your kids are here. I'm like, no, talk to them, understand. They're here learning just like I am, and they can answer the questions. And, at 12 years old, they were doing CAD designs and making 3D models of stuff on the computer.
So certified Lego master, I guess it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
How many certified masters are there?
Well, at the time when I got mine, it started, there were like 13 of us in the class, and it came down to kind of just 5 main people. A lot of it was also because we decided that we would change our lives around to be able to go and travel and train people. Some of the other people just got their certification, went back to their school, and just sat at their school and did their thing.
Okay.
Where Lego took us and said, now you guys are now certified trainers and Lego masters to go all over the country. And I would drop in for like 2 days in Chicago and sit there with a school district with all of their 8th grade science teachers in the whole district and teach them how to go through everything.
Shout out to my hometown, Chicago.
Yeah.
All right.
The pizza there was amazing. Telling you.
Illuminati's.
Yes, loved it. And it was really cool because I was seeing that the knowledge and passion I had that I had helped my son develop, I was now sharing with kids all across the country.
So how many certified Lego masters are there today? Are we talking hundreds, or are we talking thousands?
Oh,
like,
there's only maybe 100.
Wow.
Yeah,
So this is a really high level achievement.
Yeah.
Holy
I mean,
cow.
so it's not like some of the master builders, like at the parks, they're amazing creators and sculptors, and they'll just build things.
Okay.
But they, for some reason, the way their engineering brain works, they don't go around a turn and are able to teach that.
Yeah.
And apparently it's an ability I didn't know I have, was to take everything in and turn around and then teach it.
Yeah. Very tough.
And so that's what I was able to do. And so it was a lot of fun because they just kept feeding me more stuff. And I kept learning so many intricate little things. And, they even ended up making an educational curriculum that was called Roger's Race Car.
All right.
Yeah. So a lot of kids in like 4th grade, I think, ended up using the curriculum that I developed, learning how to use Lego, and went, no, wait, kids actually can use it this way in the classroom. And you're going to teach forces and motions and simple machines and basic engineering skills to 4th grade kids now.
So I imagine to some people, this is the dream, like, why would you ever want to leave this scenario? So what happened that prompted you to move on to your next chapter?
Life changes,
So you're about how old now?
I was in my early 40s.
Okay.
And ended up getting a divorce.
Okay.
And life happens.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because if I wouldn't have gotten my divorce, I wouldn't be where I am today with who I am with today.
Yeah.
So things happened, and I'd sold my business, the Lego engineering. It was called Little Engineers, and I had a partner, and she took that. And I had an offer, because of everything I was doing. A school in Hawaii contacted me and said, we'd like to put a Lego engineering and robotics program in our school. And I'm like, yeah, in Hawaii? Like, come on. Like, it's almost getting ridiculous now. And they're like, no, serious. And so I flew over for a week and checked out the island of Maui, and saw the school and saw housing and everything that would be, and understood the whole scenario, because it's not like just moving to a different state. When you move to Hawaii, you're 5 hours away from anything in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of make sure this is really the move you want to make, because you can't just hop in the car and drive home or go to your buddy's house.
Yeah.
Things don't work. So I took the job and made all the arrangements. One of my sons was going to come live with me in Hawaii and be my student assistant, which his college at the time allowed him to do, and get credit for it.
Oh, wow.
Since he was studying programming and robotics, and that's what I was teaching.
Yeah.
They were like,
2 birds with one stone.
yeah, they were like, this is perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I went and hopped on a plane in Portland, Oregon, and was sitting there waiting to fly to Hawaii. And this woman just sat down next to me in the plane. And since I was single, I thought, well, either I don't know how to talk to people. I've been focusing. And so either she's going to choke me out or date me once we get to Maui. And now 12 years later and 2 kids later, everything's great.
Hello, April.
Yeah.
Her name is April.
Exactly.
So the interesting thing about what you mentioned, you get a call from somebody in Hawaii.
Yeah.
People today, like, oh, they're never going to want to use this, or they're not going to want me for this, or, IBM, let's just take an example. IBM's not going to call me because I, put this on social media or Instagram or something right now. And people don't think like, oh, for example, I have a friend of mine who used to be a photographer for the White House. Oh, the White House is never going to use me. Like, to be so lofty type of things, like, what is it that you would tell people that, in terms of never dream too big, or no dream is too big?
Don't say no. Don't think no. I mean, you have to be open to get the offers, because it's with anything. If you manifest it, if you put it out, in the air, that's what you want to do. Some people write things down. Some people make dream boards and put pictures up. However it is that you convince yourself that you're worthy enough, that you are desirable, you do have the skills and the abilities to do it, they just need to figure it out. Because once they talk to you, you know you're going to close the deal. You have to have the self-confidence. And it's not arrogance or cocky. You just have to be self-confident. You know your worth.
Yeah.
And not take less than what you're worth, you know? And, you know, if you want something, go get it and don't settle, you know, because when you settle, you're not happy. Yeah. And at that time, the way I'd gotten that job, honestly, was LinkedIn had just kind of started to come about. And I looked at that and went, oh, this is great. This is a way to put my professional resume to the world instead of just maybe trying to create my own website and put up a resume, or just try to blindly send it out to infos@, hoping somebody responds.
Right.
You know, because I had been in the computer industry and programming and things, I understood the networking abilities.
Yeah.
And so I instantly just started putting all robotic stuff I could up onto LinkedIn, because I knew it was such a burgeoning industry at that time that if I could catch some people's eyes, they would definitely look at me.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you make. Just let the universe know what you're trying to do, right, and manifest it. I think that's great advice, Roger.
Yeah, thanks. It's
awesome.
And it, you know, my wife is huge about manifesting things, and she's made me believe it more so than anybody, because she puts her mind to something, she instantly gets it. Like, there's no question about it.
That's awesome. So, in Hawaii, what are you doing in there, and what prompted you to the next move?
In Hawaii, you know, I was hanging out with my son. We put in the robotics program. Within 6 months of putting that program together, we took those kids to the World Finals of Robotics too.
Wow.
And, you know, that again got tons of attention. That you guys have only had a program for 6 months. You're already at the World Finals. How in the world does this happen?
Where's the World Finals? Where was that?
It was being held that year in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
The Arch and all
Yep,
that?
yep. Under the Arch. We went on a paddle boat tour on the Mississippi.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And
now, was this COVID?
It was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, okay.
And a big thing was in Hawaii. These kids, most of them had never even picked up screwdrivers or wrenches and didn't even know how to use power tools. Wow. And I took them from that point, because it was a private school in Hawaii, so a lot of them had people who did things for them, so they didn't have to learn it. And their parents were lawyers and doctors and dentists, and there wasn't a lot of blue collar in that school.
Okay.
And I took those kids from not even knowing the difference between a Phillips and standard screwdriver to getting them to build a robot and program it in 6 months to accomplish a task.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so it, you know, I don't take no for an answer from kids even. What I do is try to provide them the tools for success, you know. And if I see that they have a drive or desire or need for something and it's not being met, I try to figure out how to meet it and get them what they want.
Yeah, just showing the care of it, right? Showing that you care.
Exactly.
I love the way you talk about the passions, and that we haven't mentioned anything about money as being the objective or anything like that. It's I think all that builds afterwards after you show all the other stuff.
Money has never been my driving factor.
Yeah.
I've never taken a job to get paid. You know, pay to me was always secondary. It would always come because if I did my job the way I should do it, I would get paid.
Yeah, I found that out early. Sure, I found that out in my corporate world days. But when I became a golf coach, a private golf coach in my own school, I didn't think about the money. I thought about, hey, can I make this fun for somebody? And then the referrals came and the money follows. If you're good at something, kind of like with you and the Lego and all that, the money will follow. So I think that's a great idea to keep in a concept that people really should hone in on. You can't just say, I want to make $1 million.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, you can say it, but then you also have to have a plan to figure out how you're going to actually do it.
Yeah.
It's like people saying, oh, I want to win the lottery. Well, go buy a ticket to start with. That's step one. Buy the ticket so then you're in the game. Right. You know, if you don't buy the ticket, you can just sit there and wish all day and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. So you left Hawaii. Why did you leave
Hawaii? Left Hawaii because I wanted to go date my wife. And so she was in Oregon running her business, which she had started as a passion and a hobby and turned into her business. And so I wanted to go be with her.
Okay.
And moved back to Oregon. And she was in childhood education, ironically. So I moved back to be with her, help her run her business, and then also teach some Lego robotics and stuff to those kids too.
Got it.
So I was taking my skill base, implementing it into her business, and helping her grow her business.
Which is awesome. How did you guys get to the golf world then?
Well, COVID hit. Everything went crazy on the West Coast when COVID hit. And we decided that we really did not want to raise. At that time, we just had our son. And we did not want to raise him in that environment. We were looking at other countries to go to, but with COVID happening, they weren't allowing people to come to them. And there was some definite unrest happening in the world. So we just wanted a safe place to exit and kind of chill out and try to figure out what was going to happen during COVID and where this was going to lead to. So we went to Hawaii, and we hung out in Hawaii for a bit and ended up having our beautiful daughter in Hawaii. And then in Hawaii, we realized we needed more. We needed more opportunities for our kids. We needed more opportunities for education and different things. And so we decided we did not want to go back to the West Coast because it was becoming even worse of a dumpster fire. So we picked Florida because it had everything we wanted. It had a great local government that we agreed with. They were going in the right direction that we believed in as a family. There were entertainment opportunities for us, from music and theater for our children. There was cultural events here for our children. And it just happened to be the golf capital of the world.
Right.
And
Not a bad place to be.
yeah. And seeing how we had our son and a brand new daughter, I wanted them to get involved in golf like my older kids had. Because my older kids got a chance to be standard bearers for champions events. My oldest son got to meet Tom Watson and be his personal standard bearer 3 years in a row.
That's awesome.
Which was absolutely amazing to see that. And that came through the First Tee organization in Oregon when I was involved with them. So to see that and know I could do that again for my kids here in Florida, I searched out the First Tee office in Central Florida and got connected with them. First, just to get my kids involved in golf and get them going. And it was awesome because they were very encouraging, especially even for my daughter, who was only 2 at the time. They had a set of clubs for her. I couldn't believe it. And they encouraged her, if she wanted to swing, go for it.
Yeah.
And so I brought her to the very first practice, and Coach Felipe was there, and he's now my boss. I coach Felipe. And he encouraged her and Oliver to golf. And after about the second or third class, he's like, you should be coaching. He's like, you're a teacher. You're great with kids. You know how to golf. You've had a hole-in-one, and that's, so why not? And I thought, well, okay. And I talked to my wife, April, and I'm like, should I get into this? Where do we want to go with this? And she was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, please.
And it's worked out pretty well, right? So you and I met through the First Tee program.
Yeah.
I've had the privilege of coaching Oliver and watching Jody get going here, which is very cool. First Tee is very welcoming, right,
Yes.
to the kids, which I love.
Extremely
and
welcoming.
You guys are a great example of a family taking advantage of what's there. And so it's awesome that you guys are with the First Tee.
I couldn't appreciate it more. Like, we moved here just literally with our suitcases, and they provided clubs for the kids. They've provided a golf cart. They've helped out finding shoes because they don't want to make the cost an effort. They want to help families who want to golf. And I think it's an amazing organization. I will always be involved with them somehow. It's something I won't let go. I found out about them 22 years ago, and with my first life, and now in my second life, I'm working for them, and I appreciate them greatly.
So now we're taking another hobby of yours that was golf, and we're doing something else with it. So what is your future, including for golf?
Well, right now, I've started Florida Junior Golf, and with that, I got signed come full circle. How I had said I played on Nike's campus. I got signed with Nike for a 2-year deal.
How about that?
Yeah, to represent them and be their camp director in Central Florida to start with 2 years, and we're talking some long-term growth. And I've also been signed with Watson Lynx, which also comes full circle. Since my oldest son was Tom Watson's standard bearer, now I'm a program coordinator for the state of Florida for Watson Lynx, which is a foundation that provides golf mentorship to kids. So we'll go out 4 times a year and go play a round of golf and mentor the kids and have ice cream afterwards and develop some good relationships with the kids to mentor them.
That's awesome. So we're looking forward to seeing what goes on with the Florida Junior Golf. I think that'll be a fantastic opportunity, especially here in the Central Florida area. All right, Roger. So you've gone through a lot. You've had a lot, and hopefully all the best to you and your family in the future. But if you had to give advice to your 19-year-old self, or any 19-year-old or 30-year-old or 40-year-old out there that's looking to see, can I make this work? Can I take my hobby or passion and make it work? What advice would you offer?
I'd say take the risk. Don't ever have to kick yourself in the butt and I wonder what would have happened if. Take the chance. If you fall and stumble, that's what family and friends are for. If you have a support network. Now, honestly, if you're on your own, and you're just trying to struggle and pay the bills, it's a huge risk. Some people I would say not right now. But if you have the opportunity to know that, okay, I've put enough money in the bank to where I can pay bills for 3 months to get this going, and I have a support network to where if I run out of some food, mom and dad are going to give me some spaghetti or mac and cheese or something to keep me going.
Ramen noodles.
Whatever it is, but it's reality that you have to look at those things, because you can't go in blindly and then all of a sudden you don't have money for rent and you're getting kicked out. That's not a good decision. So you have to be a little realistic about it, but go for it, because if you have that passion in you, guaranteed, if you want to go create and do something, there are going to be people who enjoy it and want to be part of it. And if you tell yourself no, nobody will know about it. Nobody will ever know if it could have existed or not. And if you talk to a lot of engineers and creative people who they've had this idea forever, and all of a sudden somebody else does it, well, they want your money. They want your dreams. You let somebody else step up and do it. So do it. Do what you need to do. Take classes, go to seminars, and you might have to spend some money to begin with. I've went, since I've decided that I want golf to be my career now, I've had to spend the money and take a couple days away from the family to go to David Ledbetter seminars to network with them, learn from them, start to get my certification as a Ledbetter junior, coach. And realizing you need to look at the industry as a whole and figure out how to make yourself valuable. You can't just go, I want to jump in and expect to swim. You have to figure out how to make yourself valuable, figure out where you can fill some voids and fill some desires that aren't being filled.
Well, Roger Collier, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on this show. A lot of fantastic stories, a lot of realistic things that people deal with. You mentioned life happens, and which is a big part of things, being realistic, getting to the seminars, getting to the workshops. Go out there and learn whatever it is you're trying to learn and see how you can fit in, or can you do something that solves somebody else's problems, right? That's a big thing too. So Roger, it was awesome having you here. Thank you so much. This is the Cheeseburger Lens. Every hobby is one key decision away from becoming a profession. Is there something in the back of your mind that you're like, should I go for it? This is Jorge Arteta, and we will see you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining us.